Hey, Brandon here. Welcome to the channel and thanks for tuning in. We got week 3 edition of the 2024 NFL Draft Fantasy Football Stock Report. All right, we're going to talk about 6 players today. Jason DiRienzo, my podcast co-host, and I are going to talk about 6 players, 4 stock up and 2 stock down players headed to the 2024 NFL Draft. These are the guys, these are the players that you're going to be drafting in your 2024 rookie draft. So again, if you're looking for a channel out there on YouTube that's going to give you an early look at the 2024 rookie class, man, this is it. Hit that subscribe button. We're going to be doing all sorts of great programming on this channel, film reviews, rookie reports as we head to the draft. All right, so let's get right to it. Enjoy the show. All right, let's go to our NFL draft stock report here for the 2024 class. I'll start us off again. I got to go with MALIK NABERS, man. Kid had a breakout game. He killed it at Mississippi State. 13 receptions, 13 targets, 239 yards, 2 touchdowns. Showed everything that we like about MALIK NABERS. He's 6'200". He's a junior. 4 takeaways I came away with is watching his film, and I put a film on the YouTube channel here. Go check it out. He has really good hands, didn't have any drops in this particular game. His body control, the first touchdown, he was going down the left sideline, the way he contorted, the tracking ability, goes up, high points the ball. I mean, he just looked like an NFL receiver catching that ball. And then the second touchdown, he was in a deep threat. He was a subtle kind of, double move route, but it was just a go route down the right side and just beautifully placed ball by Jaden Daniels right over his right shoulder. But again, the tracking ability, the concentration, and what it showed was he has that vertical ability to be the speed. So, and the other thing I like about him was in this particular game was the versatility. So he was 50% of his snaps were out wide and 50 in the slot. So that tells you he's a versatile player, which I think is really going to be good for his draft stock because he's not going to be a boundary guy or he's not just going to be a slot guy. He has the versatility to win inside and outside. And I think that is going to be a feather in his cap. So I think at the combine, if he shows some really good speed, I think he's, right now, probably not the best stock up player because he's pretty much at the high end of the list. But I think, people were forgetting about him a little bit starting the season. And the third game, he kind of broke out here to remind everybody just how good of a player that he is.
This makes my heart happy because I love MALIK NABERS. He's been my wide receiver too for a while, and I think it's gonna be fun to debate between him and Mecca Ikbuka and see how that unfolds.
Yeah, it sure will.
Yeah, with the recent ways that the NFL has been viewing prospects, and they don't have to be starters when it comes to the running back position. They just have to show the skill set that is going to fit the scheme of a team. I'm watching Chip Trayanum out of Ohio State, the backup running back to TRAVANUM Henderson, and I see an NFL running back. I love the brute mentality that this kid has. He runs with such force. He's 5'11", 233 pounds. Started Arizona State, didn't really get much going there, transferred over to Ohio State, switched to linebacker, and then switched back to running back. And this year, it looks like they just can't keep this kid off the field. And that depth chart is pretty deep. I mean, they still have Mine Williams. They have Evan Pryor, who's finally healthy, and he was a highly regarded recruit. It's not like Chip Trayanum is just a guy. Like, they see something in him, and I'm seeing it too every time he has the ball. So for me, I wish I could see more of him in the pass game. Not much as a receiver. I think he has like 1 reception right now. But we have also seen like Leonard Fournette and stuff like that where, just because they're not getting a role in college doesn't mean that they can't do it. I think he can. And I think this is going to be one of those times where the NFL is going to see something that we don't really get a chance to see. And it's going to get exposed during the draft process. So Chip Trayanum for me is definitely a stock up.
You think like a Roshan Johnson type kind of?
Yeah. That's exactly what that's what I think. I think it's going to be the exposure of, sure, TRAVANUM Henderson's been in front of him, but man, don't overlook the backup with the skill set that he has. And I think the NFL is going to see that.
I like it, man. Early deep name here to start off our rookie or our 2024 rookie
Let's go.
stock up. I like it. So I'm going to go with a chalky name, unfortunately. And I'm going to go with Blake Corum as my second guy because I think this guy's been disrespected. I think he continues to be disrespected. Listen, I know he's small. I get it. He's 5'8", 213 pounds. Everyone's excited about Braylon Allen and, Rocket Sanders because they're 230 pounds and they're big and whatever. But I think we can't lose sight of the fact that Blake Corum is just a really good all-around solid running back. He really is. I think he's just underrated for the 2024 class. So he's my third back ranked right now currently. in the 2024 class. And I think people are fading him for his size. People are fading him because of Donovan Edwards and his freshman season when he caught 3 or 4 really nice vertical passes. And because of that, they've all said, well, Blake Corum really doesn't catch a lot of passes. Well, he's caught 5 already in 3 games. He's not a liability in the passing game, but I think he's got really good vision. The dude can just move laterally at will. I think he's got some really excellent burst. And for that small frame, man, I mean, 213 at 5'8", he's a bulky guy. I mean, he's got some lower leg drive. I mean, he can move the piles, and that's something that's important. You've got to be physical playing the running back position in the NFL. I don't care what size you are. You have to be physically tough. And I think the intangibles, man, the teams are going to love this kid. He's been a workhorse, like gym rat his entire life. He lives and breathes football. I'm glad he came back for his senior year. Najee Harris did it, although that doesn't seem to be working out well for him in Pittsburgh. But I love the whole Corum story, and I'm tired of people just fading him because he's small and because we're tired of talking about him because he's been, talked about for 4 years. But Michigan doesn't mind. They're running the shit out of this guy. I mean, he is the focal point of the running game right now. So Blake Corum is, I'm just trying to remind everybody that he's going to be a really good NFL, I think, or day 2 running back taken in the draft next year.
I agree with you, and I think it's a great call. There's no way you can watch a Michigan game and not come away impressed with Blake Corum. If you do, then you're just not watching it correctly. Like, that kid is explosive, and there's a lot to like with him.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you brought up the intangibles. They're super important. My next guy that I'm gonna go to is he was one of my deep dive guys a while back on one of the podcasts, but Louisville wide receiver transfer JAMARI THRASH. And the last game that he played, the speed, man. Like, he's one of those guys that is going to get yards after the catch constantly. And he is a threat with the ball in his hands anytime he has it. 6'1", 185. So he's got like that explosive, dynamic type receiver size. Spent the last 4 seasons at Georgia State. And the analytics community, again, another guy that I'm going to mention, is probably not going to like him, but I think the NFL will find him intriguing. So he's already off to a great start. When he transfers over after having a 1,000-yard season last year, and he's already becoming the primary receiver on a Louisville team, basically out of nowhere. It's not like he had all this time like other players on this roster to kind of get to know the system. Like, he's just taken off, literally. So I think JAMARI THRASH for sure is going to be a riser. Where he goes in the draft, I got to see a little bit more from him this season, but definitely intrigued so far.
Damn, you're going with the deep names today. That's great.
Hey, man. I don't want to go all chalk,
Yeah, well, I guess that's what I did. I guess next week I won't be going chalky, and you might be.
Okay, man.
That's all right.
Hey,
So
if they're rising. If they're falling, they're falling.
That's right. So we're doing 2 risers on the show. We're doing 1, stock down player, and I'm going to go with Blake Corum's running mate, and that's Donovan Edwards. I've questioned Donovan Edwards, Jason, for about a year now on his play strength. Even last year, I did all 22 films on the YouTube channel here, talking about my concern about his running in between the tackles. Now, I know everyone fell in love with this kid because he had 2 or 3 highlights back in 2021 of him catching the ball down the field, and we love running backs who love to catch the ball. I get it, but you also have to be able to be physical enough to run in between the tackles. And, that's kind of where I am with Donovan Edwards. So I put a poll out on Twitter last fall, I think it was like November, and I said, who would you rather have in Devy, Corum or Edwards? And hands down, it was Edwards. And I never understood it because I think Corum's just the overall better NFL prospect running back. Now, Donovan Edwards is going to get drafted. He could potentially, have that role where he's a 3rd down back getting the ball in his hands. Blake Corum can catch the ball just as well, but Donovan Edwards, I'm going to have to see a lot for him. I want to see him moving piles. I want to see him. I know he's explosive and all that, but he's had 35 touches throughout the year. He's averaging 3.6 yards a carry against 3 very weak defenses, the 3 weakest he's going to face all year. I just think he's an undersized player, and I'm questioning his functional play strength to be able to be a guy that's going to move piles in the NFL. So he's getting 0 goal line work. It's all going to Blake Corum. So I predict that he's not even going to be a 2024 draft prospect. I'm going to predict that he comes back to Michigan for his senior year to be the bell cow that Corum is this year, to prove that he can take a full workload. So I'm going to I think he's going to be a 2025 prospect, and he's going to come back to Michigan just like Blake Corum did.
I think you're spot on with that. And honestly, and you know that I like him, and I've had him really high in my ranks. And a lot of that was just hoping that for the projection of improving the play strength, and that has not happened. So he's gonna fall for me. And I don't, I saw a role for him. He's not even filling that pass catching role either. So that's a huge concern. He needs to come back if this is going to continue. And I completely agree with you. It hurts, but you're spot on and you're right about it. So my follower is going to be probably a tough one for people, but it's going to be Drake May. I mean, and it's really where he had been valued. This is quarterback
Yeah.
two behind Caleb Williams for majority of us. But in his first game against South Carolina, he had 2 touchdowns and 2 receptions. His next game against App State, he had no touchdowns, no receptions. And then against Minnesota in this previous game, he had 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So in the games that he didn't have any interceptions, he had no touchdowns. He just doesn't look comfortable. The skill is there. Like I don't question the arm talent. I don't question anything about what he does on the field. I question between the ears, his decision making. Is he seeing the field well? Is he going through progressions and trusting his receivers? And does he trust his receivers enough to be on time? When they break in their route, can he throw the ball before the receiver even breaks and trust that the receiver is going to be there? It just doesn't seem like that's happening. I think he's got great arm ego, and I use that terminology in a good way for him because usually it's bad. But I think Drake May just needs to step up and just understand what he's seeing. The skill's there, but between the ears, I do question. So for me, he's definitely going to be a follower because now we wonder who is QB2, and I think we're going to have that question from here on out.
Interesting. That's going to be a nice horse race to
Yeah.
the end. There's a lot of names in this year's class that, are going to possibly be the QB2 before it's all said and done, because we all know who the
Right.
QB1 is, right? So, well, there you guys got it. There's our 4 2024 draft risers and 2, I guess, stock down players.